Hi, and welcome to this fourth and final installment of this video series to make your Metalbeard from the Lego kit number 70807, known as Metalbeard's Duel, look more like the character that's seen in the movie. As I'm sure you recall, at the end of the third installment, I said that we are now going to be working on Metalbeard's torso, which is the most involved process of the entire modification. Let me show you why. As some of you may already know, in the movie, Metalbeard has attached to his back a 2x4 plate. But as you can see, not only is there one not there, but there's no place on which to attach it. As I'm sure you also recall, in the other installments of this video series, I said that I got my reference from watching scenes with Metalbeard in them, frame by frame, and out of the entire movie, I could only find 3 frames that show me not only how is that 2x4 plate attached, but also what's going on underneath it. It wasn't much detail. It was just a sliver of information that I could glean from those frames. But it's just enough for me to be able to have made the modification and have it work. So, as far as I could tell, what I am about to show you is movie accurate. So let's not waste any more time and get right to work. The very first thing that we need is this. Yes, we do need the instructions, whether it's a printed copy or a PDF, and here's why. Given that we have to rebuild Metalbeard's torso from scratch, it's a bit impractical for me to show you every brick and plate and element as they get snapped together one by one. It would be just too drawn out, too time consuming for this video. Instead, what I'm going to do is this. Between shots, we are going to build as the instructions tells us to do so, until we reach certain key points where modifications need to be made. It's at those moments where I am going to show you what changes need to be made. So for example, if we need to make a modification at step 3, I'm going to skip steps 1 and 2 and jump right to step 3. If this isn't clear, I'm certain that it's going to make sense once you see this video progress. Trust me on this. Our first modification takes place on step 1. At this point, the instructions tell us to put a 1x2 light gray plate right there. But instead, we're going to replace that plate with this 1x2, 2x2 light gray or medium stone bracket. Install that like that. And there we go. Now we're going to continue building as the instructions tell us to do so, stopping at the end of step 3. At the end of step 3, what you have should resemble this. Now on step 4, we are supposed to install 2 1x2 bricks right here and right here. Simple enough. But now the instructions tell us to install a 2x3 sand colored plate, but we're going to install instead the same size plate, 2x3, but in this light gray, light bluish gray, just like that. Now continue building until you get to the end of step 6. So here we are now at the end of step 6, and your build should look something like this. Before we move on to step 7, I'd like to point something out. See these 2 black brackets? The chest gets mounted to the front of it, so you don't really see them, but when Metalbeard is turned in profile in the movie, I noticed a sliver of it. Right there, that edge right there. And I noticed that that sliver was gold, not black. And no matter how much I searched, I could not find these brackets in gold, and I believe they never had been produced in that color. That tells me this is another example of the designers, animators of the movie playing it a little loose and fast with the colors of some of the parts. I was going to use yellow, But yellow doesn't appear anywhere else on Metalbeard, so I thought it'd clash a bit, so I'm sticking with the black. But feel free to use whatever color you prefer in order to compensate for the difference. Now here in step 7, we're supposed to install a 2x6 gray plate and a 1x2 gray plate. But what we're going to do instead is replace the 2x6 gray plate with this 2x6 black plate, like so. And the 1x2 gray plate is going to be replaced with this, which is a 1x2 reddish brown brick. And that's going to go right there. So now, at the end of step 7, your build should look like this. Now let's set this aside, and I'm going to show you step 8. You'll remember that we altered the front of this chest, so we're going to leave it, of course, as it is. The contents, however, which you can hear rattling around, we're going to change. If you remember what I suspected, what I kind of guessed what these might be, the remains of his lunch and his upcoming dinner, I had a friend of mine actually tell me that she thinks that these are some of Metalbeard's organs, the ones that he was able to escape with when he made his first foray into the Octan Tower. We're going to replace them instead with just a few random white elements. And the reason we're going to do that is because in the scene where he's turned into a copier, the chest opens up, and I could see that these white elements come flying out and help to form the body of the copier. So nothing very specific, just grab a few white elements that you have laying around and just pop them in the chest. And there we go. So now at the end of step 8, you should have something that will look like this. Now here we are on step 9. Step 9 wants us to install these 4 pips, these 4 pearl gold pips, like so. Nothing different there. However, the instructions also tell us to install this funky looking brick, which is called a palisade, I believe. We're not going to use it. So just set it aside and continue building until you get to the end of step 12. So here we are now at the end of step 12, and your build should look like this. On step 13, we have a modification. The instructions want us to install a 2x3 sand-colored plate, but instead we're going to install this 2x3 reddish-brown plate. Now we're going to install this funky-looking piece here, which is supposed to be Metalbeard's actual beard, just like that. Now your build looks like this now. We now have another modification to do. Turn him around. We're going to install this 1x2 / 2x2 light bluish gray bracket here. And as you can see, what we have now is a place to mount a 2x4 dark bluish gray plate. And that is what I was speaking of at the beginning of this video. Now on step 14, we're going to install this 2x6 plate that the instructions want us to put on. But next we have a modification. We're going to install this 2x2 dark orange plate right here. The instructions had wanted us to put a cylindrical plate of the same color there. However, I noticed in a couple of frames that there is a sharp edge to this area and not a rounded one. So that told me that it's supposed to be a standard 2x2 square plate. And then we're going to install back here the 1x2 light bluish gray plate that the instructions want us to put on. So now your build is going to look like this. Now continue on with step 15 as normal, and we're going to pick up at the start of step 16. So here we are now at the end of step 15, and your build should look like this. On step 16, our next modification involves this 2x4 reddish brown plate. We're going to install that right here. The instructions want us to install a 2x4 dark gray plate, but we want this reddish brown one instead. Now continue on with step 16 as normal, and keep going from that until you get to the end of step 17, and we're going to pick up at step 18. Here we are at the end of step 17, and your build should look like this. On step 18, our next modification involves this. It is a 2x2 reddish brown brick. The instructions want us to install a 2x2 sand colored brick right there, but we're replacing the sand color with this reddish brown color, just like so. That is the only modification we have to do for step 18. So you want to follow step 18 as normal, as laid out in the instructions. And you're going to continue following the instructions until you get to step 22. At step 22, you're being told to install this piece. Do you remember this? You should if you saw part 1. This is where the chimney slash smokestack slash steam pipe was connected to. We're going to leave this out as I've told you to do so. And that's it. Your modifications to Metalbeard's torsos are complete. So there you have it. We have now gone from this out-of-the-box figure to this, a more screen-accurate Metalbeard. Let's turn him around and admire him. There's a few notes that I'd like to point out at this moment before we close out this video series. I cannot claim that this is 100% movie accurate for some of the reasons that I pointed out during the course of the series, such as parts that are not the right color because they were never produced in that color. Also, undoubtedly, there are small details that eluded me, no matter how much I looked at the movie frame by frame. In the event that I uncover some of these details that got by me, I'll be sure to post an update and let you know what I've uncovered. So in closing, I just want to say, I hope you had as much fun with this project as I did. So remember to keep everything awesome and never break the first law of the sea. Take care.